Hi everyone, Petrik here. So for today's video, of course, this will be another episode of SFF Spotlight, and today we have arrived at episode number 89. So that's 11 episodes left toward episode number 100, and maybe I will do a big giveaway on that day. But yeah, almost 100 episodes. So thank you so much to all of you who keep on watching my SFF Spotlight videos. As usual, if this is the first time you're watching this segment on my YouTube channel, this is a series of videos where I usually talk about new book news, new cover reveal, new Kickstarter campaign, and also special edition, and sometimes other entertainment that I love as well. And for today's topic, well, apparently for today's episode, it is filled with a lot of new book news more than special editions or Kickstarter campaign. I don't think there's any Kickstarter campaign to spotlight in today's episode. So let's get things started immediately. So for the first one, most of these are actually indie fantasy greatness, at least for me anyway, because the first one that I want to spotlight, finally, Nicolas Lietzau has announced that The Cure for Living has been completed. This is the sequel to Dreams of the Dying, the first book in the 12 World series. This is one of my favorite indie fantasy novel, one of my favorite novels of all time, Dreams of the Dying, that is. But this time, The Cure for Living, because the book is really big, it will be divided into 2 volumes. So it will be The Cure for Living Part 1 and also The Cure for Living Part 2. There will be more details about this, but it has been completed, and I think Nicolas Lietzau has mentioned a cover reveal is coming soon, and you bet I will have something to do about that. I think many people will be happy with the final cover reveal. So yeah, I'm pretty excited about reading this book. I love Dreams of the Dying so much, and I hope The Cure for Living will provide a satisfying conclusion to Jaspar's story, the main character from Dreams of the Dying. And speaking of conclusion, the next topic, and speaking of big book as well, because I know this one will be another massive tome, this is for the final book in the Bound and the Broken series by Ryan Cahill. So yeah, the cover art has been revealed. This is the cover art to the final book of Gods and Ashes, and I think this looks amazing. I think this is actually my favorite cover art of the entire series. I know that many of you are waiting for my review on Of Empires and Dust, but as I said, because of how busy and how overwhelming life is lately, I don't think I'm in the right headspace to be reading Of Empires and Dust or another big book like Wind and Truth, even though I really want to. These two are some of my most anticipated books, and they are out now. I still can't believe that I haven't read them, but yeah, I hope you will be patient with me, but rest assured that I will be reading and reviewing them on my YouTube channel, both Of Empires and Dust and also Wind and Truth. And suffice to say that I'm very excited about the release of Gods and Ruin. But this one, I think it will still be years before the release of the 5th and final book of The Bound and the Broken. That doesn't mean there isn't any news regarding to the series, though. There will be a lot of news coming in the years leading to the final book of The Bound and the Broken. And yeah, speaking of indie greatness, before I talk more about all the indie books to spotlight in today's video, there are still plenty here. I want to spotlight one very, very good endeavor from Zach Argyle, and it is the annual Indie Fantasy Fund. This is a great project by Zach Argyle and also Bookborn, where they provide money and also from their own pockets to help indie authors. I believe this year it will be to help fund audiobooks. So yeah, make sure to check out the link in the description for all the details. But I think this is, as always, super nice of Zach Argyle and Bookborn. It is one of the nicest things they have ever done to the indie fantasy community, and it is one of many, really. They're great people. And moving on to the next topic, this is for a prequel novella published by Grimdark magazine, but this book is called Scour by Richard Swan. Yes, the author behind Empire of the Wolf and also Grave Empire. Scour is indeed the prequel novella to Empire of the Wolf trilogy. It is about Justice Conrad von Wald, or Sir Conrad von Wald, and also Brazinger. And I think it is one of their many missions, and we will read about it. And of course, I will read about it. I mean, I love Empire of the Wolf trilogy, so I'm for sure will be reading Scour as well. The cover art is done by Rene Eichner. And speaking of Rene Eichner, the next book, again, this is self-published by the author as well. This is self-published by Brian McClellan. This is, I think, a prequel novella in the Glass Immortals series, which is Brian McClellan's newest series. The first book, I think, is In the Shadows of Lightning, and the cover art is once again illustrated by Renee Eichner as well. The book is titled Sword, Cider, and Other Distractions. Now, I'm not a huge fan of In the Shadows of Lightning, but I know many people really love that book, so I hope this news will satisfy your curiosity about the future of the series, which I think there hasn't been any sequel to In the Shadows of Lightning up to now. Hopefully there will be more news about the sequel soon. And moving on to the next one, this is the final self-published fantasy related news. This is about The Banners of Wrath by Michel. This is the third book in the Dreams of Dust and Steel series, and once again the cover art is done by Christopher Chant with the design by Rachel St. Clair. I believe this is my favorite cover art of the series so far. My favorite cover art in this grimdark fantasy series. I have read the first book, The Price of Power. It is a good grimdark fantasy series, good grimdark fantasy novel, the first book in the series, and I hope the sequels, The Graveyard for Heroes and also The Banners of Wrath, will be a superior book. And if they are indeed superior, then I'm in for a wild ride, because the first book was good already. And yeah, I think the cover art here looks absolutely amazing. I cannot wait to see how the hardcover, all of them, will turn out. And yeah, this is a 5-book series, so after all 5 have been completed, I think this entire set will be absolutely breathtaking. And moving on to the next news, before I start talking about the next cover reveal, I think this one is still related to self-published fantasy book, but this time it is about the super popular now Dungeon Crawler Carl by Matt Dinniman. It is getting a web novel adaptation, a Webtoon adaptation, just like Solo, Leveling, and many other amazing titles such as The Tower of God and also Noblesse and many more. But yeah, this is a big news. At least for me, it is. There's a lot of readers in Webtoon, and this brings the Dungeon Crawler Carl series to another big market. And that's insane, because the series is already super popular and highly praised now. And I promise you, I will be reading Dungeon Crawler Carl within this year. I had the pleasure of meeting Matt Dinniman at Dragonsteel Nexus, even went on a panel together with him. Such a great person, and I want to read this book. It has been on my radar for years now. I think it is time for me to finally read Dungeon Crawler Carl and find out why it is so highly praised, which is quite rare for lit RPG, a traditionally published lit RPG, which almost never happened. So this series is pretty much changing the landscape right now, the landscape of publishing. We see more lit RPG being traditionally published now, unlike before where it was always self-published. So really, congratulations to Matt Dinniman for this, and maybe one day I can invite him to my YouTube channel. And now, last topic before we start talking about special editions. This is about the newest book by Naomi Novik. The title is The Summer War. This one is a novella about young witch Celia, who discovered her talent for magic on the day her beloved oldest brother Argent left home. Furious at him for abandoning her in a war-torn land, she lashed out, not realizing her childish, angry words would suddenly become imbued with the power of prophecy, dooming him to a life without love. While Argent wanders the world, forced to seek only fame and glory instead of the love and belonging he truly desires, Celia attempts unsuccessfully to undo the curse she placed on him until she learns the truth about the centuries-old war between her own people and the immortal Summerlings. So I think many of you know that I'm 50-50 when it comes to the statistic on loving Naomi Novik's books. I dislike Uprooted. Many of you know about that now. But I absolutely love Spinning Silver. So I think this one will decide whether Naomi Novik will be regarded more positive in my book or still at the 50-50 level. But yeah, I'm looking forward to reading The Summer War. It actually sounds quite promising. So yeah, this one is being released in, I think, this September. So yeah, not long from now. And after that, this is about Empire of the Dawn by Jay Kristoff. Jay Kristoff just announced there will be a change in interior artist. So no longer Bort Otwick, even though she is still part of the design and composition. But this time, due to life and circumstance, there will be a change in interior artist. No change in cover artist. Cover artist is still Jason Chan and also Kabir Rosanes for the US and the UK cover. But the interior, it will be done by Gonzalo now. And I think the newly revealed piece will absolutely beautiful. I cannot wait to see how the other piece will turn out. And with that in mind, I do have to do a second read of Empire of the Vampire and then read the rest of the series. And now moving on to the topic of special editions, I only have two to spotlight here. The first one is about Katabasis by R.F. Kuang, the Broken Binding Edition. And yeah, I just talked about Kirby Rosales. Kirby Rosales did the reversible cover art for this one. And also, Jeff Brown and Peng Lu did the end papers. And yeah, the board art is being done by Jorge Jacinto. I'm really happy with how this one turns out. I still need to do a full spoiler review of Katabasis. Honestly, I'm behind on reviews. There are still plenty of books I haven't reviewed even though I have read them. But yeah, I'm really pleased with how the overall design for this one turns out. And it's really great to see many people happy about the design for this edition of Katabasis. And then finally, the last special edition to spotlight is about Among the Burning Flowers by Samantha Shannon. So yeah, this is just like all the Broken Binding edition. This one is receiving the same treatment and also same design to be similar to the other Broken Binding edition of Samantha Shannon's books. So yeah, this book takes place in the same world as the Roots of Chaos series. I think this one is designed to be the prequel to the Priory of the Orange Tree, but also takes place after Day of Fallen Night. And I think this one is the smallest book in the entire series. And yeah, it looks gorgeous though. I really need to read some of Samantha Shannon's books as well. I heard a bit of a mixed things regarding Priory of the Orange Tree, but mostly positive things about Day of Fallen Night. And finally, for the last topics that I want to talk about, the last section of today's episode of SFF Spotlight, they are about TV show adaptation. As many of you should know by now, The Wheel of Time, the TV show adaptation has been cancelled. I'm not too surprised about this. Well, I have only watched the first 2 seasons, but the changes, the deviations have been insane. There have been a lot. I mean, season 2, as far as quality goes, it is a step up compared to the first season, but there are just too many deviations, and I don't even consider myself a huge fan of The Wheel of Time, and even that still drives me nuts. Now, I heard season 3 is by far the best season of the entire series, but by then, it might have been too late to actually save the series. And even Brandon Sanderson has mentioned that his advice has been largely ignored throughout the entire production and also writing of the series. So yeah, there is that. Do let me know what you think about this news though. I know that it's not good for the state of fantasy TV show adaptation, because this one is a big one, and I don't know how the future will go for TV show adaptation regarding fantasy books. Ever since the completion of a Game of Thrones, I don't think there has been any mega successful fantasy books adaptation that reached the height of a Game of Thrones. Again, not even House of the Dragon. And speaking of adaptation, the last topic of today's video is about Elden Ring adaptation. It is being adapted into live action, and I'm really not sure how this one will turn out. It is adapted by, I think, A24, but I really don't know. I really don't see how this one will work well in live action, but I guess I'll find out. I will find out for sure. I love From Software games, and I will find out how this one will turn out in live action, if it actually gets adapted. So yeah, those are pretty much all the news that I want to spotlight in today's episode of SFF Spotlight. And again, as always, I can only say thank you so much to all of you who keep on supporting my YouTube channel, even amidst my burnout in creating content. And I think it's getting better though. And I know I keep repeating this, but I just want to make it clear that burnout is not forever. So this will be over. So yeah. Do let me know what you think about all the news that I spotlighted in the comment section down below. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and thank you for your support. Bye bye. Lastly, I want to say thank you so much once again to all my patrons who keep on supporting me.